Imagine you had the opportunity to acquire all the knowledge you need to take your ideas and goals to reality. Imagine you had enough time to bet on yourself, work on your dreams, and start planting seeds for the future you, for the improvement of your life, for the improvement of others, for the improvement of future generations. Now imagine all those ideas and goals have actually happened. Would it have been worth it? And would it still be worth it if it took you 5 years, 10 years, or maybe a lifetime? So I've got some great news and I've got some bad news, starting with the bad news, which is you'll likely watch this video and be inspired for an hour, maybe inspired for a day or two, and then you'll likely fall back into your old paradigms. Maybe you're playing small, maybe you're living in fear, maybe you just need guidance on what you need to do and how exactly you need to do it. Now here's the good news. The good news is the life that is happening to you right now, you can change it. And you start doing that by reinventing yourself, recreating yourself, and creating a new identity. The caveat is you have to start practicing new ways of creating that new identity. And so in this video, we're gonna be talking about some concepts, some ideas to think about that we can use to deploy a new identity. Really, now is the best time to apply some of these philosophies. We are in the midst of great change, and the great news is you can change right now. The first concept I'd like to talk about is the concept of personal growth. Some other people might call it self-development, whichever term you're more comfortable with. So the definition of personal development is one's ability to continuously improve to reach one's fullest potential. The fact is, you don't know your full potential. I don't know my full potential. I can confidently say that we've barely scratched the surface. We've barely tried, although our ego might tell us that we have. So let's take a step back and ask ourselves, or ask yourself, who is it that you want to be? What are your goals in life? And what's the type of life that you want to live? Right, we start with the basics. You have an idea of the future you can reference where you are currently and how you can potentially bridge that gap. Practically, if you're not living the life that you desire, something has to change. We can't be passive throughout our whole life. Right? We have to be proactive and we have to change things. So looping back into the idea of personal development, if that means you reading books on the topic, if that means buying courses or going to mentorship sessions or finding a mentor to help guide you into reaching your full potential, do it. So the great thing about personal development is that as you work on yourself, somehow life starts to blossom. You get a lot more opportunities. People start to be attracted to you. And it's a really fundamental philosophy that you need to deploy if you're trying to create a new improved identity, if you're trying to upgrade your identity. Next concept I'd like to talk about is the idea of resilience and adaptability, but let's break down the definition of both terms. So the definition of resilience is one's ability to bounce back from adversity or challenges, whereas adaptability is your ability to adjust to new conditions or circumstances. So I'd like to correlate both terms into one. So for me, resilience and adaptability is really just one thing. And it's one's ability to bounce back from change, bounce back from adversity, and to be able to adjust in those new environments that you're unfamiliar with, or maybe environments or situations that you're not comfortable yet. This concept of adaptability and resilience is very important, especially in 2024 if you're watching this video. We're really in the midst of rapid change. In fact, we owe it to ourselves to embrace change and really anticipate change, because it's the only thing that's constant. Who you are now compared to who you were maybe a week ago, a month ago, or 5 years ago is completely different. Right? The worries or wants that you had couple of years ago is very likely not the same ones you have now. And you're changing. The world is changing. The economy is changing. Our belief systems and ways of doing and thinking is changing. Intersecting this concept of having a new identity and having goals, whatever venture or goal you're pursuing currently is likely going to change as well, right? It might fail. You know, your approach might not work immediately. And you adjust the plan. If it fails, you adjust the plan again. If it fails, you adjust it again, so on and so forth, right? You're constantly adapting and improving your way into your new identity, into your new self. Closing the point off, the greatest failure you'll ever have is not because you failed in your ventures or failing in achieving your goals. It's not even giving yourself the chance to try. The next concept is the idea of emotional intelligence, which is a fairly new term that I've been introduced to recently. And its definition is one's ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions and do the same for other people. So let's unpack that a bit. Ability to recognize your emotion is really to be aware of what that emotion is, right? What is it that you feel currently? Understanding your emotion means to be aware of where is this emotion coming from? How has it led to this point? To manage your emotion means to find a way to let it serve you rather than the other way around where your emotions are controlling you. Right? We have to be managing our emotions and use it to serve us. And then in terms of a simple mind map of how this is applied is you start with managing your own emotions, which then helps you focus on serving other people. And remember, 95% of your daily interactions, whether it's at work, with your friends, your family, or in the public domain, is going to be with people. So it makes sense to learn about emotional intelligence. And a good 95% of your problems are very likely going to stem from interpersonal problems, which is a concept that I learned from a book called The Courage of Being Disliked. I recommend reading it. I will link the book below. So you want to master your emotions, right? You master your emotions by being emotionally intelligent, right? You need to recognize it, you need to understand it, and you need to manage it. The next concept is we're in an era of massive creation and massive abundance of opportunity. Even though I grew up in a town where there was internet, we had dial-up internet, I'm still very much surprised and astounded by the technological advances that's happening in the world and how people are changing, how the world is being unified. Cultures are mixing and matching. And that's going to obviously carry on. But, you know, with the internet, artificial intelligence, and the democratization of education, there are a lot of things for your taking. All you really need to bring your ideas to life is literally within your fingertips, right? The only thing stopping you is yourself. If you'd like to build your own software, you can learn how to build a software, as I am right now. I'm learning how to develop using no code, using Bubble. If you want to educate yourself and maybe transition from one career to another, you can do the same as I did. I was a musician working in customer service and then transitioning into digital marketing. If you want to find a new family or you want to find a new group of friends or a new network, you can research forums, right? You can join communities online. And if you can't quite find the opportunity out there, you can create it. And I would highly encourage you to, just be aware of all these great things that are happening. There are bad things happening as well, but I wouldn't focus on that. How can you use those opportunities to help build your new identity or help reinvent you? So final concept, which I'd like to talk about, which is really two concepts or two terms, is the growth mindset and Kaizen. So the growth mindset, in terms of definition, is the concept of knowing that you can improve your situation or improve an area in your life by putting in time and effort into it, that it can change, as opposed to a fixed mindset, which you believe that the way you are and your circumstance or situation is fixed, that it can't be changed or it can't be improved. Kaizen, it's a Japanese term and philosophy which is all about continuous and never-ending learning. So again, I'd like to kind of just correlate and connect the two words, which is really the fact that you can improve oneself, but you have to want to improve. And you have to know that you can improve, that the way you are now is not always going to be the way it is, right? You're malleable enough and flexible enough to grow, to develop and improve yourself. So this idea of rapid change means that we have to learn to rapidly upskill. We have to be anticipating of change, and we have to want to build a new identity. I think that's really the distilled lesson of this video. It's who you are now might not work tomorrow, right? Just like who you were doesn't work today. You had to change, you had to adapt. So you want to shorten that gap of change happening and then you adapting to it. And you do that by building a new identity, reinventing yourself, recreating yourself. There's a really great quote from Earl Nightingale from one of his radio talks. I will link that below as well. That education doesn't start after college or university. Education begins after that. So I'd like to close off with a question for you. Are you currently living the identity that you want? Or are you living someone else's? Peace and love, friend.